there is no concept of human rights in the way we think of human rights before the Enlightenment. We live in North America. One of the interesting things about the United States is that the United States has no pre-Enlightenment history. It's one of the few countries founded after the Enlightenment, based upon a certain conception of human rights. Canada has more history because of its link to Great Britain, the monarchy, and so on, but nonetheless, it can't escape the influence of the United States. For example, it really doesn't have a state church. All right. When I say that there's no concept of human rights before the Enlightenment, first, when we talk about human rights, we mean rights inside or inhering in the individual. They come out from the individual. They are not conferred by government or anyone else. The rights belong to the individual, and these rights are generally considered to be inalienable, which means not only can they not be taken away, they can't be given away because they inhere in the individual. These rights are part of what we call Western values, and to some extent, Western European values, less so for Eastern Europe historically. Both Judaism and Islam have a heritage of law, and these legal systems are total systems. Jewish law, for example, does not deal only with ritual and personal matters. It is a complete legal system. Theoretically, anything could be adjudicated within Jewish law, and the same is true of Sharia. In ancient times, if someone took a cow across your lawn, the civil issues could be adjudicated within Jewish law. So theoretically, if someone drove a car across your lawn, the same thing could be done. The reason I say that is because we have a different conception of the way people relate together. Jewish law presumes that Jews have some collective autonomy. In the Middle Ages, Jews did have some collective autonomy, not live under the same legal system. So that as a consequence of the Enlightenment, when emancipation came for Europe's Jews, some in the Jewish community opposed emancipation, many of them rabbis, on the grounds that the Jewish religion could not be practiced in an Enlightenment setting, or the new setting that was coming, because Jews, Christians, and then Muslims, atheists, would be under the same legal system. And since Judaism had its own legal system, they opposed emancipation. Obviously, the Jewish community accepted emancipation, but the sacrifices had to be made for that. These legal systems, traditional legal systems, don't really confer rights, they confer obligations. So Jewish law thinks in terms of obligations. Most legal systems think in terms of obligations. Therefore, the idea of rights in the Enlightenment manner is something new. Our political concept is that we live in a nation state which is multi-religious, and there is no privileged religion, at least legally. That's more so in the United States than in Canada, but we certainly function as if there's no privileged religion. Individuals have autonomy, which means they can make up their own minds. And this autonomy, this right of autonomy, again, inheres in the individual and is not collective. We believe in legislation flowing from the will of the people. But that is not religious tradition. In Jewish law, legislation ultimately flows from God. It may be interpreted by human beings, but it does not flow from the will of the people. We believe that we live in two worlds, a public world and a private world. And religion is in the private world. One of the hot topics at the moment is the role of religion in public space. So you start with the idea that religion should have no role in public space, but maybe it should have some role in public space. Is it important for us to know the religion of candidates for office? Because we frequently don't, because that's private. We believe in secular space, by which I mean an area where we work together politically as Canadians, frequently without even knowing the religions of the people with whom we're working. All right, so what is the basis of our working together? It can't be religion, because we don't know what religion necessarily people have. So what is it that binds us together? Now, we believe in democracy, which means, again, that legislation flows from the will of the people. All religions have extremists. Of course, calling someone an extremist means looking through my liberal eyes. Judaism has extremists, and there are those in Israel who would like to see the state of Israel under Jewish law. So someone interviewing the chief rabbis who are Orthodox, my branch of Judaism doesn't recognize them as chief rabbis, interviewing them said, what would Israel be like if it was under Jewish law? And the chief rabbis said, well, the first thing that would happen is that the parliament would have to be abolished, because legislation comes out of the Jewish legal tradition interpreted by experts, namely rabbis. You can't have a parliament in which people make law by raising their hands, some of whom are not Jewish, some of whom are atheists. How can you make law for the state of Israel if it's going to live under Jewish law? They are a minority, all right? But that certainly represents a conflict between the tradition and the modern structure in which we operate. Now, religions that have survived, all the religions represented on this table have survived, obviously, because we're here. I'm a representative of a religion that has not survived. Religions that have survived by being open to new truth, and they have used this to better understand their tradition. For example, all the religions that we represent have responded to Greek philosophy and have used Greek philosophy in the past to illuminate our religious traditions. Some oppose Western values because they contradict religious beliefs or laws. So the bottom line is, if we are to live together in democracies, changes will have to be made. Changes have been made, but changes will have to be made in the way we practice and what we think and what we believe. We will have to incorporate, just as Greek philosophy was incorporated, not totally, but what was usable, we will have to incorporate the Enlightenment concepts, democracy, the will of the people, so on and so forth, into our religious understanding. Otherwise, we can't live together. Thank you.